Hello, everybody. Welcome to this presentation by the American Topical Association in our continued spring shows. Today we have a great program called The Comet and the Tapestry by Tom Broadhead. Halley's comet visited Earth in 1066, and its appearance is depicted in the Bayeux Tapestry. In 1986, when it last flew by, several countries issued stamps and a couple of pictorial cancellations that showed that scene from the tapestry. In addition to the Norman conquest of Britain, there are many other interesting Halley's Comet stories, notably the birth and death of Mark Twain. And with that, I think I will turn it over to Tom.
All right, thank you, Eric, and good evening, everybody, or whatever time of the day it is, if you are living around on the other side of the world. And this is, I latch on to topics for very random reasons. And I think that's one of the beauties of topical philately is that there's so many things that can catch your eye or your ear. And then trying to figure out, so is that something I want to learn a lot more about just by reading, or do I want to do something more significant like developing a topical collection? And that is what I have done in this case. And let's go take a look. There. The Comet and the Tapestry, the title I've chosen for this presentation, combines some of the interesting history of Halley's Comet and the Bayeux Tapestry, which was created in the year probably 1067 or maybe a couple of years after that. There is a connection between the two that I find historically fascinating. And so I will take you on a tour of information related to Comet, how it has been depicted in art and in stamps, and then we will look forward to the future. So what we call Halley's Comet was named after Edmund Halley, who was a scientist in the 17th and 18th centuries and was a friend and colleague of Sir Isaac Newton's. And the stamp below, we see Halley and Newton conferring over Halley's recent discovery or determination that this comet, which had appeared in 1682 in the skies, had a periodicity to it. It has been documented for really hundreds of years in a number of different ways. And Halley wrote about it in his 1705 book, The Synopsis of the Astronomy of Comets. And then afterwards, it was named after him. He had hoped to be able to see it on its return, but 1758, which was its return, and we see that on, these are both stamps from Guinea. The stamp at the upper left says 1758, stamp at the lower right says 1759, and often the visitations do span parts of 2 years. So this is a lot of text, but it is what is called a short period comet. And by short period, that is a comet that has a round trip travel of 200 years or less. And Halley's Comet has always apparently been very visible to the naked eye. Its record of appearance goes back to 245 BCE, and it has appeared since then approximately every 75 to 76 years. The last time it visited us was in 1986, and we can maybe, if we want to stay up late, we can look forward to its next appearance in mid-2061. Scientifically, it is referred to as 1P Halley. The prominent visibility of Halley's Comet has been recorded in documents of several different ancient cultures and civilizations. Some of the references to it, though, in interpretations that we see in some of the stamp issues of 1986 are not quite right. And a good example would be the stamp shown here that some people thought, well, maybe Halley's Comet was attributable to the invasion of Mexico by Cortez and the death of Moctezuma. But it turns out that Moctezuma had been dead 11 years before its appearance in 1531, and there is no historical event associated with that particular visit. The most visible time when it's in 1986 was in the months of March and April, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. Another question that has come up and has even been shown on stamps is, was Halley's Comet the Star of Bethlehem? And popular lore about that is largely related to the painting, The Adoration of the Magi by Giotto de Bondone in 1305. And Giotto had witnessed it just a few years earlier. And so it made sense that here's this star with a tail in the sky, and why would it not be the Star of Bethlehem? But there again, the timing is off. It last time around the time of the birth of Jesus was 12 BCE, which is about 8 years prior to the accepted date of his birth. But Giotto's painting has shown up in 1986 on a couple of stamps, one from Kampuchea, also known as Cambodia, and one from Montserrat. Well, the importance of this painting is it's absolutely gorgeous painting with the comet in it, which it might have been, the Star of Bethlehem might have been a comet, or it might have been a planetary convergence, but astronomers have not definitely determined what, except that it was not Halley's Comet. So in 1985, a decision was made to sample Halley's Comet for us to send a visitor to meet it. And the space probe was named Giotto after the Italian artist. And this was launched by the European Space Agency. It flew by and studied Halley's Comet, did not actually contact the nucleus of the comet, but it was able to chemically analyze a lot of the material that's thrown off from the comet that makes up the tail. And the sheetlet from Paraguay shows it really very nicely, where you have the comet, the red or the orange loop, the yellow one is the Earth's revolution around the sun. And then right in there, we have the mutual visit of Giotto and Halley's Comet. This is also shown in just a couple of other stamps, but interestingly, Turkish Cyprus issued this stamp. And if you can read the dates on it, the upper part of the loop represents the previous visit in 1910, and the lower loop showed dates from the 1986 visit. Shows that the tail is mostly water, and with carbon monoxide, some other gases. The nuclei of comets we know are basically ice balls, and they often do have a residue of dust covering them. So, but Giotto was not able to actually touch down and sample the comet nucleus. Well, let's leave the science behind here and jump to the history. And I want to talk about the year 1066, a momentous year in the history of England. These are cigarette cards. If you're familiar, the British like to publish pictorial cigarette cards, and they create albums for them, and they're very cleverly done and collectible. So at the beginning of 1066, Edward the Confessor was the king of East Anglia and some surrounding areas, but that we would just call England. But he was in very poor health. And early in 1066, Edward the Confessor died. Prior to his death, he had no descendants. Prior to his death, he had sent an envoy to France, to Normandy, with the goal being to invite William, the Duke of Normandy, to be his successor. But in the meantime, his nephew, after Edward died, his nephew Harold grabbed the throne, and Harold II of England was king for only part of the year 1066. And then after that, with the Norman conquest, the death of Harold at the Battle of Hastings, William then finally did become king until his death in 1087. The Bayeux Tapestry is a chronicle of the events of 1066 and a little bit before. It is an extremely long piece of cloth. And often when we talk about something being a tapestry, we think about it being a woven fabric. The background is woven, but the designs are not woven into it. These are all embroidered, and you'll see in some of the pictures I have the incredible art that went into creating this. 230 feet long. This is not complete, and the final scene or two or panel of the tapestry is missing, and it is pretty certain that would have included the depiction of the coronation of William. So that is not, nobody knows what has happened to that and where it is. And the tapestry itself, if you can imagine, I don't know how many people sitting there doing all these little crewel stitches, but it's believed to have been commissioned by William's half brother, who was the bishop of Bayeux. And there have been discussions about where it was created, although it does have a little bit of a Norman bend to it. It's believed that it was created in England and not in Normandy. Currently, the tapestry is on public display at the Musée de la Tapisserie de Bayeux. And but if you want to see it, you don't have too much time left this year, because it is going to be taken off display sometime later this year for a period of about 2 years for conservation and a redesign of the museum. So then you can you can go back and in 2027 sometime to see it in person, but the museum website itself is wonderful, and you can look at the whole thing there online. This is a self-adhesive stamp that France issued for non-urgent letters, and it shows a part of the tapestry in the museum. Well, there's some notable events that are represented in the tapestry. And one of those is the death of Edward the Confessor. And this is from a postcard, so it doesn't show a lot of the detailed stitching, but you see the numbers at the top. Those are the scenes, and there are about 60 scenes in the entire tapestry that are numbered at the top of it. The stamp from Jersey that is on this card. In 1986, Jersey issued some stamps, each of which was kind of a pastiche of scenes from the tapestry and not completely correct in any way. Okay, this is a better photographic postcard showing the coronation of Harold II in 1066. This is a scene that is also shown on a French stamp that reflects William, at that time Duke of Normandy, and his two brothers, who were not really pleased with what had just happened across the channel with Harold's coronation. And then after that, and this is one that I really want to focus on, is the scene where we see Harold on the throne. We see people pointing to the sky, and there is it's labeled Stella. There is a star with a tail on it at the top of the tapestry. And this was something that was seen in the sky at the time and was considered to be an omen. And it certainly was an omen for Harold, but a bad one at that. So this is a close-up showing the detailed stitching of the star, which we now know to have been what we now call Halley's Comet. And it is very, I guess, representational in a way of the way that the comet actually looks like. But there's no doubt, no mistaking that this is in fact what it was. Other notable events, Harold in the Battle of Hastings, just the major military confrontation between the English and the Normans. Harold is killed. And what we see here is Harold. You'll see he has arrows in his shield, but it looks like he's holding one. He's actually trying to pull it out of his eye. Harold was killed by an arrow to his face, and there are still more scenes of the battle, but after that, there's some scenes with William, but this was kind of the defining moment where the English are defeated by the Normans, and ultimately later that year, then William becomes king. Well, in the Philatelic Age, Halley's Comet and the Bayeux Tapestry have shown up on some stamps that were issued in 1986 as to commemorate the visit of Halley's Comet. And I'll add that the ones showing the Bayeux Tapestry image of the comet are very few compared to all of the probably a few hundred stamps that were issued in 1986 to commemorate the visit by Halley's Comet. But you see the one in the upper left from Aitutaki is one that accurately portrays the scene that I showed previously in the postcard. And so some of them do show that particular scene. The Guinea stamp from Guinea shows kind of blocks out Harold sitting on his throne with an enlargement of the comet. Bhutan shows pretty much just focus on the comet. And Djibouti actually shows the comet, the tapestry image of the comet kind of disjointed from the part of the scene where the people are pointing at it. This is the largest commemoration of Halley's Comet by Bolivia to commemorate a philatelic exposition, and the two actual stamps in the middle, those are not pasted on, those are printed as part of the same sheet that shows Harold on the throne, shows the Halley's Comet, shows the people pointing at it. A few others, kind of bits and pieces. Hungary has the part of the panel with Harold on the throne, and it has the comet along with a satellite. This is not Giotto though. Then the stamp from Kampuchea, which we looked at earlier because of the painting, has a focus on the image of the comet. And then Niuafo'ou, in formerly known as Tonga, has a stamp that again faithfully represents the image from that particular part of the panel. Suriname has a somewhat modified image, lacking the people standing out in the open pointing at the comet. Montserrat had two stamps, one of which showing the actual scene from the tapestry, and another one which is kind of charming. These all occur on a sheetlet together. Shows the tapestry scene together with a photographic representation of the comet in 1986. A few others, Paraguay to the upper left, and Tristan da Cunha in the upper right show examples that accurately reflect the image on the tapestry, and then part of that is shown without Harold in the Laotian stamp at the bottom. So all over the world, that scene from the tapestry has shown up, and what I have shown you are, so far as I can tell, are all of the examples of that particular scene or part of it on postage stamps from 1986. Well, the U.S. issued an aerogram to commemorate the Halley Comet visit in 1986, and with a photographic image of the comet. And this one, I was so thrilled when I happened across it on a online auction, because it is the cancellation shows the tapestry image of the comet, although reversed, and it is from a local stamp club's stamp show. You notice though in the lower left we have a picture of Mark Twain, and he says, "I came in with Halley's Comet in 1835. It is coming again next year, and I expect to go out with it. It will be the greatest disappointment of my life if I don't go out with Halley's Comet." Well, he was not disappointed, would not have been disappointed, because he in fact did die in 1910, which was the last time prior to 86 that Halley's Comet visited us. And this is another example of that aerogram. This was a special Concorde flight to go up during the peak visibility of the comet, to take people up high in the atmosphere to view it from the most luxurious airplane at the time. And the other thing that I find so wonderful about this is the fact that there is a rubber hand stamp in green that shows the scene from the Bayeux Tapestry. So it's got a lot of different things going for it. So what's next? Postcard at the upper right is one showing Halley's Comet in 1910. The lower left is Halley's Comet in 1986. And like I said before, look for it in the sky, July of 2061. And that is the end of my brief talk about the comet and the tapestry. And I think that statement here says it all about ATA and how many incredible topics and approaches that we can take to our hobby.
Thank you, Tom. If anybody has any questions or comments, please unmute yourself and ask away.
I do.
Yes, Dawn.
First of all, Tom, I'd like to compliment you on your pronunciation of all those countries. I wouldn't have been able to do most of those. I wanted to ask about the Bayeux Tapestry. That seems like a great mystery of who did that and so forth. Is there ongoing research about that tapestry, who did it and all that, or is it perhaps more known than I think?
There have been some books written about it, and that's always one of the things that comes up is, who created it, for whom was it created, where was it created, and the latest one that I saw kind of concluded it wrapped up a lot of the evidence to suggest that it was created in England, obviously after the Norman conquest. But it does, and I don't really see although I didn't show any panels showing the Normans, but they are figured very favorably, and that has led people to believe that this was produced at behest of William, or possibly his queen, whose name was Matilda. And you will see sometimes this referred to as Queen Matilda's tapestry. But then there's the other point that it may have been commissioned by Odo, the Bishop of Bayeux, and it only comes into like the historical record of display in the 15th century in the Bayeux Cathedral, and there was like an annual celebration. It was brought out once a year, for people to look at, and I would guess marvel at, and then it would be put away. And in the Napoleon, when Napoleon was emperor, He had it removed from the cathedral and for a couple of years had it displayed in what we now know as the Louvre. Then it was returned to the cathedral. And the only other time that it probably, other than its current place in the museum, was during the 1940s, during the German occupation. Hitler had taken an interest in it and wanted it to be examined. And the Germans, they had it in a couple of different places, and at least it escaped being hauled back to Germany. But during that time, apparently there was a strip of cloth that was removed from it, and this has just come to public light within the last couple of weeks. It was discovered in a museum in northern Germany, and there's no indication, at least from what I've read, that it has any embroidery on it, but it is in the process of being repatriated to France, where it will be rejoined with the tapestry.
Thank you.
Yes.
If there is one book that, well, no, let me rephrase this. Is there a book that talks about Halley's Comet and the tapestry together? Or is there a particular book on the tapestry itself that mentions the comet?
I think the books that I have about the tapestry, to answer the first part of your question, no, I am not. I don't believe that there is a book that talks about the tapestry and the comet, because I think it's there wouldn't be enough there to write about. I mean, that is one of the different kinds of ways that Halley's Comet has been documented historically. I don't know if that's the first pictorial representation of it. Certainly is a very early one, because a lot of the more ancient reports of it are in manuscripts. But the any book that has about Halley's about the tapestry that I've seen does have a mention of that being Halley's Comet.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We have one comment from chat. This is from Rodney and Edith Knight. Thanks from York, England.
Oh.
By the way, I was working in 1986 at the Rutherford Appleton Laboratory, which I didn't put on 2 experiments on Giotto.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that. That's special. That is special.
Okay, Lewis, go ahead.
Thank you. Knowing the period of the comet, roughly 75 years, what was the earliest mention in a manuscript, perhaps by the Chinese, perhaps by some other group, that we know of that would have identified this object in the sky, which we now know, knowing its period, it was probably Halley's Comet?
The 245 BC, which is alleged to be approximately the earliest report of it, that is in China.
China.
That's Chinese.
Okay, thank you.
I remember going out in my backyard and seeing it at night when last time it visited.
Go ahead, Jean.
Sorry, Tom, I think on maybe your second last or third last slide, you showed an aerogram on the left that had some pictures of Mark Twain, and there were 3 dates at the top. So 1835, 1910, I guess. But the last date was 1985, not 1986. Is that a typo on the
Well,
in
it
the
was
design?
actually visible in 85, end of 85 and into 86.
Okay, so it
so-
first appeared in 85.
Right. But the
So
peak viewing,
I guess it because it's so far away, it wouldn't really be moving across the sky very quickly, right? It would just be visible for a long time.
right, right. And the aerogram, I think, was created, the US aerogram was created in 85.
Okay. Cool. How long is it actually visible for when it comes by Earth?
I think one of the stamps might actually show that, but I get the impression that it is typically from the faintest to the strongest to the faintest might be 4 or 5 months.
Cool. I don't know if I'm going to be around for the next one. It's not till 2061.
Right, right, yeah. Leave notes for young people that we know to, and to collect stamps that if we still have stamps then.
Okay, then. Any other questions?
Okay, well, thank you all for coming to my talk, and I appreciate all the questions and comments, and go out and venture out and imagine a new topic.
Tom
Okay,
always
thank you.
comes up with exciting topics that he introduces us to, and we always appreciate his programs. He's our most frequent presenter and one of our most popular. So thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Don.
And before we end today, I want to talk about our next presentation. That will be March 25th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. That will be Michelle Brasso will be talking to us about expanding your collection with poster stamps. That should be a lot of fun because I know there are a lot of great poster stamps out there. And so thank you everybody for attending.
Thanks, everybody. See you next time. Don't forget to visit the ATA website. Lots of good stuff on there. Easy to sign up and join if you haven't already done so. Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Now I want to go on that website and look at the tapestry.
Well, yeah, you know, my grandmother did crewel work,
Mm.
and the only thing I remember is there's a stitch called a French knot.
Oh, yeah. I have a
But-
terrible time making those.
All kinds of different stitches, and you thinking about, almost 1,000 years ago, I guess some of the stitches are still used today, but thinking about these people, I don't know, and I haven't seen an estimate like how many people do they think were involved making it, but the piece, what's left of the fabric is 230 feet long.
Yeah, fabric just doesn't last like that, no matter what it is.
Yeah,
That's so
Mhm.
incredible.
Yeah,
I went to a quilt show recently where there were quilts from the 1920s and 30s, that were on their last legs.
yeah,
That's
Mhm.
new by comparison.
yeah. Well, it's maybe a little bit like paper, because the old rag paper and that was used for centuries, still holds up very, very well, but the more modern acid-based stuff just,
Yeah,
kind of rots apart.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm in awe that kind of skill and whatever they used for to stitch the images and as long ago as that was is incredible.
Yeah, And the other thing that they point out is that the design of the people and all that suggests the same artist.
Mm.
I guess sketching on the fabric that they would then go in and embroider. But yeah, the facial features and all that, very, very consistent from one end to the other.
Wouldn't you love to know how many people worked on that?
I would.
Yeah, it would be fascinating, yes. It
You know,
would.
and how long did it take for them to create it?
Yeah, years and years, surely.
Did they have two rollers, one with blank fabric and one with the finish that they just rolled them and
Yeah.
like a conveyor belt?
Yeah. And as basic as life was then, to have time to do something like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you've given us an amazing story and it was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
All
Thank you,
right.
Tom.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Welcome. Bye.